Welcome to Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. Each week, the NI Bullpen will be covering the world of comics, talking to creators, deep diving into some fantastic stories, and much more. Now let's hand it over to the team and turn a page.
And what is going on, everyone? It is Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you are tuned in to Nerd Initiative YouTube for another edition of Turn a Page, the official comic book club on Nerd Initiative. My name is Ken M. You know me as the host of the ODPH podcast. I'm also Nerd Initiative Editor-in-Chief. Finally back in studio to my left. You're right at home. He does his own intro because it's in his contract.
Coming at you live and direct straight from the ODPH studio. My name is Off the Cuff Tom, Nerd Initiative's pop culture connoisseur. Ken, Lauren, Kyle, always a pleasure.
Absolutely. And joining us for this edition, you know her as one half of the dynamic duo of Drafts and Dialogue, bringing you that pop culture knowledge that you need to know each and every single week. And if we're talking about comics' fastest growing universe, Minor Threats by Dark Horse Comics, you know that she is going to be in attendance for it. Please welcome the one and only Lauren from Hops Geeks News.
Ooh, I can never follow Tom. It's never as good, but I'm super happy to be here. Yes, I've been loving this world from the beginning, and I gotta say, Shit Eater is my new favorite character. Sorry, Crab Louie, I still love you. But Shit Eater he moved to the top so fast. I fell in love right away.
I'm gonna take it, but I'm soft on Crab Louie, man. He's a good one. Crab Louie's a good one.
Crab Louie's great. And joining us to talk about this, there's a brand new spinoff from this universe, from the world of minor threats, known as Barfly. And we are fortunate enough to have the writer of this book on. And you know his work from such books as I Hate This Place from Skybound and Image Comics, Lobo Cancellation Special coming up from DC Comics, and one of my favorite series out of this year, Pine and Merrimack from Boom Studios. Please welcome to the show the one and only Kyle Starks. Kyle, what's going on?
I don't know. We're here to talk about stuff. I'm here to do it. I'm here to talk about stuff. That's what's going on.
And you know what? We are always here to talk about comics, especially great ones like this.
Hey.
So let's kick it off right off the bat. How did you get involved with the world of Minor Threats here?
Yeah, that's a half good story. So Patton Oswalt and Jordan Bloom were they love promotion. They were doing their promotion for I think Volume 2 or maybe alternates because they promote everybody's stuff and people were asking them who did they want to work with, and they kept saying my name. So people were texting me. They're like, "Hey, Patton's talking about you on this podcast." And I was like, well, we have the same editor, so if he means it, we could shake it out. But I told my editor, I was like, hey, they're talking about me. And we had a meeting, and they said we would like for you to come up with something for this character who exists in 4 panels that people seem to like. And so that's it. I gave them a pitch. They liked it. And then Dark Horse said, we think Ryan Brown's interested. And that's it. We didn't need a second artist. We didn't need a list. I've been wanting to work with Ryan Brown for a really long time, so it's sort of best case scenario for me. That's the story. They wanted me, they got me. I'm purely ego driven. If you want me, I need that validation so greatly that I'm open to it.
So coming off of 4 panels, how is it that you did pitch this spinoff story? I mean, with everything going on and obviously with all the big names behind it, how did you pitch a story from 4 panels to a whole arc?
I mean, that's a good question. I'd have to explain the job maybe more than what we have time for. I think the thing is, like, well, what does he look like? He looks to me like a little downtrodden guy who's hanging out at a bar, who's wearing a punk rock jacket, but doesn't look very punk rock to me. And it's like, well, who is that guy? What is his story? They may have said he was an ex-henchman. Maybe. There was very little involvement on their end, to their credit, honestly. In fact, in that aforementioned meeting, outside of being asked, which I like very much, simply being asked goes a long way in life for anybody. But Patton said specifically at one point in time, because I'm very type A about storytelling, he said, I want to do these spinoffs the way I do my tour posters. I want to find artists I like and have them do what they do. So they were really hands off. They may have said he was a henchman. I can't remember, but I know for me immediately it's like, well, the whole thing about the whole Minor Threats is that we love this sort of, it's these familiar archetype, it's these familiar situation, it's these familiar sort of trope characters, but to look at them from a very sort of human, like character-driven perspective. And so me going, And there's a bunch of Henchman stories. I'm not like, I didn't create something new. There's a lot of really good Henchman stories. I mean, the Venture Brothers, look, it's right there in front of us.
Right.
But I was like, I hadn't seen, I just thought like, what is the Moloid version? Like, what is the Moloid version in the Minor Threats where he's on, those sad little guys are on their own. And that was sort of the beginning and sort of the end.
Right on.
My next question is that, being this far, he has 3 different runs of 4 issues. So you're stepping into a world that already exists. So were you given much guidance? It sounds like you weren't. It seems like you were given a lot of freedom.
Yeah, I think I got that. So on one hand, I knew there's for me in the story that I wanted to tell, there would be very little crossover. The continuum would be in play. And we would use the bar, but it's sort of a prequel. It's sort of a prequel to Volume 1, which is like quietly unspoken. So I knew there wasn't going to be a lot of crossover. The biggest conversation between me and them was I knew the continuum would exist. I think we see one of them in issue 2. We see more of them in issue 3. We see more of them in issue 4. Was to present them in a way that aligned with the way that those guys want them to be presented. So that was sort of the only. They're very hands off. They're very cool. I think they're really open to anything, and I think Jordan sort of famously says, from his perspective, is like they want to sort of break Batman. Like what they want to do is break these characters. So it's still the archetype and like I love tropes. So it's like there's something very powerful about you going, oh, I recognize this character is parentheses Superman. So when parentheses Superman is very mad at parentheses Leapfrog, right? Like that's a really interesting story because what is Leapfrog going to do? And so that was the sort of thing. But they were very hands off. They're very cool. They were like, as a creator, who was making themselves open to work on someone else's IP. They were very cool. And I know Tim Seeley said the same thing. They want to work with people they like and they trust them, and that's huge. Like that's huge and it's smart if you want to tell good stories.
Absolutely. So the art in this is very extreme and next level art. So one of my questions, because obviously when you're reading it, you're getting a whole other story in the background. The posters, the signs, just even the tiers of unemployment, all of that. So obviously you're an artist as well. So how much of that was just Ryan Brown's own thing and how much of that was actually part of the script?
If it's a sound effects, it's probably Ryan Brown. If it's something in the background, I know I was talking to someone earlier and they're like, oh, I love all these punk rock posters in the background. I definitely put some punk rock posters in the background, right? Ryan's really special. If you guys haven't read 8 Billion Genies, I think it's one of the best books of the last 5 years, if not the last 10 years, if not the last. I mean, like I think it's an iconic work. And it's one of those books where only Ryan Brown could have drawn that book. And I
fully agree.
He does. Yeah. I say repeatedly, and I'm sure at this point it sounds like disingenuous, but to Ryan, but to me, this book on his behalf is a relentless display of creativity. It's just every panel he put a second joke in. Every panel has at least one other joke. I wrote this. In regards to our relationship, Ryan has said that I write a script with the information that I would need to draw it, that Kyle would need to draw it. And so he gets it right away. Like it's exactly what he needs to know what each panel looks like. But you let Ryan be Ryan. And I've found like, you never know. The first issue is kind of a feeler, like to decide how you're going to you might have to change how you write depending on how they tell a story and for Ryan, it was just like, oh, I'm just going to have to let him go. Like you just have to be ready that he is going to go so hard at this. I wrote the scripts. We get pencils. I see the pencils. I then see the inks, and then I see the colors, and then I see it again with letters. And it's not doing a bit. I found something new every single time. Every single time I found something new in the background, and I'm like, why is this guy got Limerita cans everywhere? It's like such a fun little thing. And the thing that's really interesting about Ryan, that outside of being like, and I think Ibn Genius is gorgeous. I think this book is. I'm going to say selfishly, I think it's the best drawn thing he's done in a while. It's so creative and it's so strong, and he's such a good storyteller, and he makes such good. I mean, this is a character that does not talk, that cannot emote. He doesn't have eyes that can blink. He doesn't have a smile. And Ryan is killing it. I know he said that he's drawing it like it's a silent movie, and I think it completely comes across that way. to the problems that he solved just from an artistic standpoint of trying to represent a character who can't emote is he does it. It's amazing. And you can see like how the character becomes more and more rubbery, like as he goes along, because he's like, well, I'm leaning into it. It's like, yeah, lean into it. So I would love to take credit. I mean, certainly I'm directing a story. He is following the script, but all those Easter eggs, I think in issue 2, I was like, here's a couple. And like, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this. Like right. he's got this. I don't need to do this part for him. But the thing is, to me, when I look at this book, from someone who is an artist, like Ryan likes to draw. Like he really likes to draw, and I think it shows in this book. And for someone who does it, but doesn't like to do it as much, like it's kind of a beautiful thing to sort of like get to experience as he does it. Look at those great bugs.
Yeah, what the detail he puts in on this is just absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah,
and like you really get that sense of just like every page has got so many little things in here that as a reader watching it, you just can't help but do a couple reads just because you know you missed something. And that's, I mean, that's a testament to, you know, the great art that Ryan's doing on this.
Yeah.
And especially like the creative freedom that you talked about. Was there any idea that you guys wanted to do that an editor or anybody was like, I don't know, we should go there? It was just completely free reign. Here's an open playbook, run crazy.
I can't think of any time, knock on wood, that someone's like, don't do that. I can't yet. Like, I'm not pushing an envelope so hard. I think originally we were maybe going to use like more like albums, like real albums. And they were like, maybe don't do that. But all that stuff's in posters. So that didn't even stick. And I think like wisely, because it was like London Calling was the album. And it says, it's like Britain texting. Like it's so fun. He's so funny. Like all that's Ryan. It's all, I'd love to take credit for like if it's a visual gag, I probably had nothing to do with it. If it's a story thing, then I did that. If it's dialogue, I did that. But every shirt's different. And Ryan has said like he doesn't worry about continuity. He's like, no one actually cares if someone's wearing the same shirt from. So it's like, read it the next panel. It's a different joke. It's just a different joke over and over. It's so impressive. I just love that. Every shirt's there's something with mice that he is going through the whole thing, and I don't know what it is. All right,
in one of the other comics too, though, didn't they? For Minor Threats.
Well, I think. There's something I know that's in the first volume, which I never would have recognized, is that all the cats have extremely long tails, and there's no in-world explanation for this. But so when we had, I'm not going to remember the characters' names, guys. I wrote that book a while ago. But the nice lady who is sort of Shit Eater's like landlady, she has all these cats, and you'll note that they have extremely long tails because that is canonical to the Minor Threats universe. So you think at some point in time, like the Living Tribunal like crashed and all the cats' tails got longer, some bizarre, cosmic experience. Yeah.
That was going to be one of my questions real quick, just talking about the art. When you described the cat lady, did you have a cat on her head? Did you have 8 million cats all around?
No, I'm sure I wrote like she's what you'd think of a nice, sweet old lady with a bunch of cats. Like I wrote something like that. I try not to do for character design. That's not my strength as a creator, and it's usually the strength of the illustrators. I don't get into that. And I found with Ryan, in fact, I think it's in issue 2. Again, I wrote this a while ago, and they haven't sent me comps yet. Those rats. I said it. They still didn't. They said they're not going to send them any faster, so it doesn't matter. Is that there's a character at a bar. I think it's in issue 2. Is there a weird bar character where he looks like a sleeping cat head? All right, maybe this is not. There's this very weird character at a bar. It might be in issue 3. And I wrote weird character at bar. And Ryan drew like the most unhinged character. Like
the big guy with the raccoon head, I think it was.
No, he's like a sleeping cat. It must be in 3. And it's like, why would you do that? And he's like, you told me I could do whatever I wanted, so that's all I want to hear. And I was like, all right, I get it. So some of that, I was like, you have to be careful, because I was like, if I said something ridiculous, if I set in issue 2 has entomologist as a breakout, right? It has the origin of how he broke out of. Okay, sorry, I wrote them a while ago, but I know them. They're very good. And I was like, oh, there's a bit where obviously like he would ride out sort of on a cloud of insects. Like he would, like you can envision this in your head. But I was like, oh, Ryan will try to draw that. Like I had to write in a way that he wasn't going to spend like 5 days drawing millions of insects, you know. So some of that, I did protect him in some ways from himself by trying to make things easier, because you have those guys who will do that. They'll go too far, and while that's great for the reader, it's not great for deadlines. So you have to protect them sometimes.
Now, because of the art and how unique all the characters are, and you already alluded to it, the Entomologist is a very unique villain, to say the least. I mean, for you as a writer, what's it like trying to do this weird father-ish, son-ish, Cinderella maid-ish, relationship between him and Shit Eater?
Well, I'll tell you, I might have a lot of dad issues just going through all of my. I'm sort of.
Did anybody hurt you?
I mean, he's dead now, so it is what it is. But there's a lot of dad issue stuff. You write what you write what you know. I hate this place. I'm regularly told the scariest thing in it is the father. Peacemaker is 100%, daddy issues. So Mars Attacks, which I did with Chris Schweitzer, which is one of my favorite books, is daddy issues. And I mean, maybe all of them are, honestly. I very much like the idea of family in story. I think it's something that we can all universally relate to or recognize. Like either you long for it or you experienced it, right? And so that's something that I go back to again and again and again, because I think it's universal, and I think stories should be universal. So it's like my 8th shitty dad. Like that's the only answer I have for you. I'll try to write a shitty mom in the future. I just can't imagine. Mine was so good. I have such a good mom. It's hard to imagine a bad mom. But like my first 5 books all had hitmen in them, and my wife was like, "When are you going to do a book that doesn't have hitman in it?" And it's like, okay, I get it. And then last year, every book I did had a dog in it, or had a character named Wild Dog in it, which is basically just like having a dog in it. And I was like, I need to maybe do less dogs. And I did Who Woofs the Wolfman for DC. And I was like, no more dogs. I'm going to take 3 books off. No dogs. So maybe I need to take a break from bad dads too. It's very possible.
Just get to a dozen and then, take a break.
I think, you always want to write things that people can relate to, I think. And I know I would like to hope that most people have good dads, but I think bad dads and bad bosses share the sort of same sort of it's an area where they hold power over you in a way that is sort of you're helpless to. But if you overcome, whether, mentally, spiritually, or whatever, I think it's a very rewarding experience to sort of watch happen. Shit Eater's got a bad dad. He doesn't even consider himself his dad, which is worse because he's definitely his dad. It's even shitty. He's even worse. Yeah. Poor Shit Eater doesn't have anything. He literally has nothing.
He's got the worst of both.
He's got great friends, though. He does have a great.
Let's hope so. No, I'm just kidding. They're good. He's got good friends. Yeah, he's got people looking out for him. But man, it's tough to be that little guy.
You gotta love a good work for
it. Tough to be a bud.
Oh yeah. No, the fact the band is getting together about this, that's just one key element of this whole story too. And I would say in this world of minor threats, because we're dealing with traditional villains, so to speak, how important was it to establish Shit Eater as a good guy? Because he almost seems like he's too good to be bad, even though he's trying to be.
It's funny, but he does do 2 robberies in the first issue. I think the thing with Shit Eater is he's trying to find if he's good or bad, right? Because he's always been if only by relationship bad, right? Because his dad's bad. And he Bertrand's the giant beetle, his giant beetle friend, he's good too. I think that they both sort of share that relationship of working for a really we know it's evil, but we have to pay the bills. I think they sort of existed in that together. But I think for Shit Eater, a lot of this story, Jordan and Patton called it a henchman coming of age story, which I think is really great. I think it's a really beautiful way to sort of to sum up what the book is. All 4 issues when you finish, is that he's trying to figure out is he good or is he bad? Is he his father's son? Is he a good, loyal boy? Or has he been out of the game long enough to be I don't know, maybe everything I was taught is wrong. And I think that's really what you see. So those sort of early, he needs work. What is he good at? He's always been a henchman. So if someone says, let's make money, solve all your problems, you just have to hench one more time. Sure, he does it. But I think the guitar, he am I spoiling anything? It's been out for a while, guys. Go buy it. Seriously, please. Is that I think is that I think that's what it is. It's him figuring out who he is. And the thing is, though, he loves entomologists. Entomologists created him, and he sees him as a father. Like, he imprinted on him as a father. So he's going through all those motions too of wanting to get sort of the validation from this person, no matter how bad they are. And so we see is like, how does it end? Gosh, I can't wait to find out. I bet it all turns out great for a character named Shit Eater. I bet it doesn't get worse. I bet each issue doesn't get worse each time. Oh no.
Well, I mean, you do see some parallels with Frankie, because it's the same kind of thing with this, they're just raised to be this specific thing, and whether it's good or bad, that's all they know. And when you're told, like, this is what you are your whole life, it's hard to switch that. And what I love about the whole Minor Threats world in general is that these quote unquote villains don't necessarily come across as the villains, and some of the heroes do. So I love just this skewed perspective and seeing all of these terrible parents. That's what I feel like all of it is, just such
skewed
terrible
perspective
parenting.
is skewed perspective is such a good choice of words, because I think though they are doing crimes, like they are doing bad. I just like it. What is it if we lived in a world where there was villains? Like, what defines that? Is it what they do? Is it what they believe? And I think those guys, like I do, and I'll speak for Tim Seeley too, just think it's very interesting. It's a very interesting to explore. Whereas, like, even if you rob people, I mean, look at like the Flash Rogues Gallery. Like, they do awful things, but they're not. I think you'd let them probably babysit your kid. You know what I mean? Like, you'd trust them to, like, with your pets. Probably. Tom's like, I don't know. I don't know all the lore. I don't know all the lore.
at least Captain Cole.
Well, I mean, they have a code amongst them. That's one thing that keeps them in check. But you kind of see that in parallels in Minor Threats too. Like, there's the kind of, like, the quote unquote honor amongst thieves.
Right.
You see that play out too, and especially how the roles are reversed, because you have the villains, like you touched upon. They are considered the good guys at some point, because obviously the heroes are a little more skewed to dare we say, like, the boys rather than the Justice League in this kind of
no, I don't think that's accurate. If you look at volume, this is what I think is interesting is, like, one, I don't know if Minor Threats is selling as well as it should be, which maybe I shouldn't say outright, which in a time that where sort of like this deconstructionist meta superhero thing is so popular, I think Minor Threats does it incredibly well and in an incredibly unique way. I mean, I believe this firmly. I wouldn't do it if I didn't like that first volume. But the thing is, like, if you look at the continuum and you go, oh, they're like the boys, they're not. They're good guys. But Batman had a bad day. That's what that first volume is that Batman, the one who is walking the line, got pushed past it. And who's going to suffer is all those, his gallery, his rogues gallery, right? So when you see, like, I'm blanking on Searcher. When Searcher shows up, she's tough on Frankie. She's not evil. When she's chasing them, she's not evil. When you see her in Alternatives, like, kind of a bad leader, but she's not evil. And so the thing is, like, from their perspective, and he's murdering everybody, so he is evil. I mean, like, I can't think of what their Batman's called, which is such a bad thing because I should know, but he crosses the line. You know what I mean? Like, he crosses the line. And so that's what you see. And these guys are in survival mode. Like, everyone's in survival mode. So had they robbed, like, the Snake guys have definitely killed people. You know what I mean? Like, Snake guys definitely killed people. The doctors, Scalpels definitely killed people. So it's like, they're not good. But in this case, they're in the right. And we always respect survival, right? Like, we always go, well, people have the right to live, if anything. I think it's so interesting, and it's so clever, and I hope it's true of Barfly, but I think it's true of Alternatives and, Minor Threats 1. It's very clever. It's very smart. It's something that I think if people who like mainstream comics would really like. They do it really well. It's something that will feel familiar, but it's unique, and it's smart, and it's character-driven, and I think maybe the big two have sort of stepped too far away from being character driven in 2024 to make new readers. So I think it's exciting that someone's sort of exploring these things. I can't wait to see The Brood. I can't wait to see the Mike Allred, Mac Fraction Wingman story. Like, there's so many cool things that are coming, and I just feel remiss. Like, I think people might be sleeping on it more than they should because of Patton's name on it, I assume. I don't know. Like, their Alternates is so smart and so good, and such a good idea.
Oh, and the twist at the end, that was
it's
crazy.
Such a good idea to go, what if Animal Man and Swamp Thing, before they got vertigoed and then after they got vertigoed? That's so smart. Like, yeah, what's it like to be Swamp Thing when you're a god for 5 years and then you're not? Then you're just a weird swamp guy. That's so smart. It's so interesting. I just think all the Minor Threats books are good, and I'm happy to be part of it. I hope I'm not letting anyone down. I think we're doing okay. I think Ryan's doing great.
No, I think for everything you guys have been doing, and to kind of touch upon something you mentioned there, you're seeing a lot more resurgence in doing more character-driven stories, and a lot of the different lines that are coming out right now. Do you think it's just a matter that the creators really want to get back to that kind of basics? Because, like you touched on, the big two have kind of stepped away from that a little bit.
I mean, I can't speak to a publisher's intent. You know what I mean? I think this is a whole conversation. This is a whole can of worms that maybe I don't want to get into. I'll say this. Here's what I'll say, and I'll try to be brief. I'm in the point where I'm being offered big two books, right? And I worked in a comic shop until, let's say, 98. From when I was 14 years old to I was like 22. And then I moved on and I came back to comics when I was in my mid to late 30s, direct market comics. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where those guys, like the guys that I liked in 1998 aren't those guys anymore. They've had whole lives, you know, like they're just different people. So when people ask me, someone name a character, any character, it doesn't matter who it is.
Batman.
Wolverine. So they're like, hey, we want you to pitch on Wolverine. I'm researching Wolverine. I'm going to Marvel Unlimited and I'm reading the last 15 years, right? And what I found in my own personal experience, which is not denigrating the writers at all, because the stories are dope. They're dope stories, huge stakes. The way that these guys can unfold stakes and danger is unbelievable to me. But as I was reading these to try to find these characters, I found they just assume you know these characters. Like they will say their name, they will say their power, they will not say why we like them. Like they will not say like why I, as a 47-year-old man, have always liked Wolverine. Like there's none of that. Wolverine's kind of an exception because he's one of those characters that everything about him is baked in. And I think if you look at the characters that sort of persevered in terms of sales and popularity, they're characters who their personality, their character is part of everything they are. Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, we'll say Wolverine too. You know who they are. Every action they do is them, right? But like Storm, like you have to like Storm's dope. You have to tell people why Storm's dope. You have to let us see her be dope rather than just, oh, she's really powerful now and she's in charge. It's like, but yeah, she's dope though. Like you guys know. So I feel like in 2024, when I don't think that as an industry, the big two, I'm saying direct market comics, I'm saying specifically big two lead the way. That's just how it is.
Right.
You guys, yeah. I'm not saying is that I think they have, it's very much like, well, you guys know, here's a new thing. And I think like, if you think like why we love comics, it's because we saw them as people, and I don't think they're that as much anymore. So I think going very character driven, I think it's smart. Even if you only like, we're going to do it for this long. I think the Black Label stuff does a good job of it. Of going like, this is why we like these characters. But I think it's going to be tough I think it's tough to make new readers if you're not constantly going like why these characters are likable. Not that they're doing cool things, though we love them to do cool things. So certainly, and I say that because I have a bias because that's what I do. Yeah. Obviously, I want that to be the the most successful form of comics. But like Barfly is a character-driven story. Pine and Merrimack's, all of it. It's all character-driven. And I'm better at that. I'm better at character than I am, plot points. I don't think anyone's ever go, what a very clever story he did. But I think it'll be a good story with people that you want to spend time with. And I think that's what comics should be.
No, I think that's a great analogy too, because like that's what that's how I got into reading. Is like I really got hooked with the characters, and especially now seeing this, it just seems like there is a big push for that now, which I'm loving because like right now there's so many great books on the indies, and you're starting to see a big push of that too. That it's now getting people involved, and like we're seeing how these projects are going to the small screen and big screen in certain degrees. But it all kind of stems back to where it all began, and that's the comic shops, and that's these characters that we're going and falling in love with, so to speak, on Wednesdays every week.
Yeah, I agree. Give me the character. I want them to get pizza. Give me 2 pages of them just ordering pizza and arguing about it. Hal wants pineapple on it. Why does Hal want pineapple on it? It's fucking Hal.
But it's true, even with some TV shows, it's like some of your favorite moments in shows like The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones are sometimes those down, the low-key moments.
It's always humanity moments. All the other stuff makes you go, wow, they're cool. But it's the humanity. Like, there's a reason why Daryl was like the most. Daryl Dixon. Is that right?
Yeah.
Like, why he was the most popular. There's a reason why he was written. He was written as that guy. You know what I mean? And I feel like there's a balance between that. And again, I'm not saying like I'm better than anyone else. But I think we should want to spend time with these people. And sometimes you have to remind. If you look at manga, like manga is all character. When you come in, like they're selling it out, and it's archetype but the archetypes are characters. You know what I mean? Like they're not like, oh, that's Superman. You go, oh, that's the horny one, which was a bad example, but you know what I mean? And to have those sort of click out things, you go, oh, I like that guy. I like that guy. When I see that guy, I like that guy. But you know what you're getting into, and they never stop reminding you. And I think that's why manga is flourishing so well, because those young people are us 30 years ago, or younger for you guys probably, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I think that they're getting character, whereas we failed to sort of give them character for many years. And I'm not saying that because the industry is doing well. Like, what do I know? Like, I'm in an unfinished basement. Look how smart this guy is. But I like it. I like characters.
Yeah. I don't even have to.
You know what I mean? Like, I like characters, and that's like movies. I think all of it. It's very rarely that people go, well, that was cool when that thing blew up, and you didn't care about the guy who blew up. You know what I mean? Right. I just feel like we've kind of missed that. But you're also talking like what 75 years of us selling. You go, well, they know who. I love a minor. They know who Leapfrog is. It's like they don't. They have no idea. Like no one knows why we like Speedball. Like you have to tell them why we like Speedball. You have to show them. Speedball has to do stuff, and I think TV has gotten very good at that, at being very character driven, and I think manga is very good at that. Which is not to say like it's anything's better or worse than other, but I like, man, whenever I read something, I'm like, dude, there's none like Beast. Obviously, is a bad example because he's changed so much. But like if it was 1998 and Beast didn't make a joke, you'd be like, what is this?
Right.
Like, what is this horse shit? Like, why they could have been anyone? It could have been anyone. When you put the Beast in there, give me the Beast stuff, and I feel like that's where we're at now in many ways. And I don't read everything, so I can't speak to that. But
right.
So,
well, with Minor Threats coming to Netflix, I'm sure there will be an increase in viewership with the comics. But anybody who hasn't gotten into this, like, get into the world now, because it's so much more fun when you're in it from the ground up. When you get to, watch the show and do that Leonardo DiCaprio moment, like, hey, that's Shit Eater.
Ooh.
So, I mean, yeah, there's no better time than the present. And now you have if you're one of those people that likes to wait till you have a few issues, like, I get that. Like, there's plenty out now. There's, 12 issues, and now these two.
I say objectively, Volume 1 of Minor Threats and the alternates are so much fun. If you like superhero comics, they're so good. You'll really enjoy it. It's something you haven't seen before, and maybe you've seen something similar. It's not done as well. And I say that without hyperbole. It's really fun. And I just can't believe like shops are going, because kids are coming in or asking for Boys and Invincible. It's like, oh, if you like those, you should check out. It's literally like I put them all in that same vein. Is that they're sort of very fun. If depending on what your idea of fun is, but like, they're very fun sort of deconstruction superhero stuff, and I've always liked that. We all have, like, that's why we like Dark Knight Returns, and that's why we like The Watchmen, is that we love seeing these things in a different light.
Right. And The Fastest Way Down had like an element of like mobster stuff. So what's really cool too is we're just getting different pictures of this world, and like Barfly, I feel like, is the more almost like lighthearted version of it. Even though these terrible things are happening, it's still more of like a lighthearted, fun part of
it's a romp
world.
We're having a little romp.
I like that word.
Yeah.
I think comics. I use romp a lot because I think that's what they should be. That's not to say they shouldn't all be. They should not be funny. You know what I mean? But I think you should go. I'm glad I was here for this. That was a nice little ride that we went on.
No, I fully agree about that. I mean, that's the whole thing. You should be
time.
enjoying comics. I mean, that's just it's just another way for everybody to go celebrate the medium. Because I mean, where else do you get the chance to really run with the creativity other than the comic medium? I mean, that's just how I take it.
Yeah.
So the world of Minor Threats is clearly not going anywhere, because we're talking about how excited we are. We got the Netflix coming. I mean, it's got to keep going. It's too good to not keep going. So my question, and you may not be able to answer this, but I'm not even going to ask if. I'm going to ask, when will we see Shit Eater again after this issue? And will it be more than him just sitting on a bicycle in the background?
About this.
That's I do not. I have no idea. Ryan just announced his next book with Charles Soule. He would be. I'm not trying to throw Ryan under the bus either, but Ryan's the deciding factor. Like, Ryan would be the deciding factor for us if we did more. I know that I have been offered to do more, to do something else. Kind of coming after Ryan is like sort of such a letdown. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to follow up something when you get to work with Ryan Brown and he brings so much. But I love, like I said, I think I've shown I love this deconstruction stuff. I think it's great. So I'm very interested. where would Barfly be? He'll be in the background, probably right where he's happy, hanging out, just walking silently in one panel per issue. Supposedly he's going to be in the Netflix deal, but we'll see. And at that point, that's Scott Hepburn's. That's not even my shit eater. That's Scott Hepburn's. He's the one who created him. So it's like if he shows up in Netflix, like that's a celebration of Scott Hepburn, and he deserves all the flowers for that. All the character design. I mean, literally almost all the character design is Scott Hepburn. I don't know how completely that is true of the alternates, but I know for us, if it wasn't a new character, it was Scott Hepburn's character design, and he was very hands-on with that, which was great.
Now we know that that's Scott's baby, Barfly, but if you had your choice, who would you fan cast to voice Shit Eater?
Oh, Patton Oswalt, but he doesn't talk. But it has to be Patton Oswalt. It has to be Patton Oswalt.
But I always assume he's making noises like.
Dude, I'll tell you this because I hey Patton, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but I was going to do the bit because like there's kind of a thing. He's probably not. He's very busy. Of like because like there was when I first started and there was like it's like is his name Barfly or is it Shit Eater? So I was like maybe I'll do a subplot where he's kind of like trying to figure out a name, and I was like wouldn't it be funny if he chose the name Patton? I did not do that, but I thought it would have been really funny, and so I will confess to it now. So I think it should be like if there's going to be a voice for an animated character in minor, it should be Patton. Of course, it should be Patton.
Yeah, he's got to have a cameo in there somewhere.
My idea
100%,
completely
yeah.
out because Patton Oswalt wins.
Yeah.
Who's a shit eater?
I do know an actor who has voiced a fly in Power Ranger lore, and we're just going to leave it.
Oh, well, that's a good one.
But no, I think Patton has that particular grit that he could lend to the character as opposed to my guy. Now, because of Barfly and because of all the great little nods and Easter eggs, as much as I might look like Tom generic, middle management guy right now, I do love good old punk rock. What are some albums that would be in Barfly's playlist? And on top of it, what are some in your playlist while you're writing?
Hey, you put me on the spot. We did a Spotify. Now listen, not
even better. Spotify
not on purpose. We did
perfect.
When I say we, Patton and I did a punk rock playlist, Spotify Barfly playlist that you can find. I think it's called Barfly, and I would say it's basically sort of a starter's guide to punk rock. I am a solid 25 years away from being punk rock. I know for him and I said. And it's a good list. You put me on the spot because I didn't know how to talk about punk rock music today, and I'm a little bit. I have to kind of go back to my roots a little bit. But I know for that, I was like, hey, I really want to put "Bastards of Young" by Replacements on here, which is not a true punk rock song, but I think is kind of the most punk rock song. And he was like, yeah, put it on there. And he has another one like that that's escaping me. And I know like Rebel Girl by Bikini Kill. I'm trying to think of what was on there that I'm like, I really love. But like we wanted to make sure we covered all of our bases too. So it was a little bit what's the word? Is a little bit more studied and technical than maybe like us just putting like our favorite things. Because it's like if you're gonna put we're putting the Ramones on there and it's like, well, it's gonna be probably I Want to Be Sedated, but there's like a million possibilities. So yeah, my wife says I'm much more roll than rock now, and that's a fair assessment. But I also think that the punk rock element for this is very much, like I was saying earlier, with him sort of being very young and trying to find his way. And it's like him and I don't know his friend's name. I'm so bad. I usually reread things so I know characters' names before I do these. His friend who works at the Burger Bite with him, who plays drums, who's what started the band. They're both like he's like I'm a punk rocker, but he's not, which I think is great. But they very much believe in the tenets, like the basic philosophies, and so that's really I think what he's taking away is like we should look at authority in a certain way, and that's what draws Barfly to it, maybe more than like who are your top 3 punk rock bands. Johnny Cash is number one. I'm just kidding. We love Johnny. Johnny Cash is the most punk rock. It's a good list. It's a really good list. And if we could go through, I'll tell you which one Patton picked and which ones I picked. We were the only 2 who did it. Just me and Patton. That's how cool we are. Very hip.
No, but it definitely works. Tom actually
And they're
has
on
it
your
called up right now.
Spotify
He's looking
list.
through it.
He's got a big old shit-eating grin on his face right now, too. Shit-eating.
Yeah.
The Clash, Bad Religion, Descendants, Bikini Kill, Black Flag, Vandals.
Yes.
This is my childhood.
It's a classics. It's literally the classics. And then I think like he has like Pere Ubu on there, like Pat put Pere Ubu. So there's a couple of sneaky little good ones in there.
The Stooges, my God.
It's a good
one. Home.
Yeah, no, send me a link for that. No, because I mean, like I said, that's something kind of, it represents even the Minor Threats universe. Like for what everybody's doing with their books, I mean, it's very DIY and it's very, driven to really build this universe into something too, which I mean, that's why no pun intended, there's a lot of buzz behind this with just talking to readers online. Like
yes, I hope so.
Yeah, no, we have the conversations going on, and this universe, like every time we recommend this, we'll have somebody hit us up after one of Lauren's reviews, or we've actually done Minor Threats as an addition to Turn a Page, and we've actually had the pleasure of talking to Jordan, Patton, and Scott on here. We've had listeners or readers come or hit us up and say, like, we're really interested in this universe. And like, I think that's something that every time we've recommended it, we've always had somebody hit us back and say, like, this is really good.
Yeah.
And we're kind of regretting that they didn't get started on this sooner. Like I saw Megan from Vigilante Vibes popped in there and said, I really need to get in on this too. And just hearing about it. But that's just one thing that just translates through is just the creativity that comes with this, and with mixed in with great characters. It's nothing but a win-win combination.
Hey, we love to hear it. We're trying real hard.
Yeah. So, it's absolutely working. So that being said, for the rest of 2024, what do you have coming out that we should be looking for?
Yes.
2024, I have this month Lobo Cancellation Special, which is a one-shot. It comes out September 26th with Kyle Hotz and Daniel Brown colored it. I think the colors did an unbelievably good job. Look at that cover. It's really good. If you like Lobo, I think if you like Peacemaker, you'll like it. If you like Lobo historically, I think I did right by that character. They're both big dummies who like violence, so it only makes sense that I'd be good at both of them. So that's coming out September 26th. And then in October, the second volume of Where Monsters Lie, which was my sold-out series also from Dark Horse, about a gated community for slasher villains. That starts October 26th. And I believe that's it for 2024, but no one ever tells me when things are coming out. So we could be surprised at any minute by something I forgot about. I know Oni's got an announcement that's coming soon. I know next year there's a big announcement from DC that I'll be a part of.
Nice. Could
they be sooner? What do I know? I don't even have comps of these things. You think they tell me anything? I don't know when the Pioneer Merrimack trade's coming out at some point, which I'm very excited about. That was something that I adored doing, and I adored working with Fran Galan over at Boom on that series. I think that's it.
When you had Karate Prom came out this year, and that's one that's PG. If you got any kids out there, that's a great Cobra Kai meets Scott
we had
Pilgrim story.
Rock Candy Mountain was recollected into one edition, which pleases me to no end. Something else. What else you got, Kyle? Gosh darn it. I don't know. Stuff's happening.
No, but that's, I mean,
listen, what a place of privilege I'm in is like, I don't know. There's a lot out there. Who knows when it's coming out? Like how lucky am I? But there's a lot. I think this compared to last year, there's a lot coming out last year. I pulled back a little bit this year for mental health, and hoping next year is going to be very busy again. I might do a Kickstarter the very end of this year, but probably early 2025. I think 2024, as much as I had still 4 or 5 books come out, it's like my rest year. So we're gearing up for 2025, where I have a bunch of stuff coming out.
No, that's awesome to hear.
Any upcoming conventions?
I'm doing Memphis Comic Con, Memphis Comic Expo. I'm sorry, in October. That's a really nice regional show. They have a really good list. In fact, the aforementioned Kyle Hotz, who I've never met before, will be doing that show also. Nice. Probably the only time we'll be together, I bet, because I don't think he's from around here. And that's the end of this year. I'm not doing New York. I got COVID last year. I can't do it. I'm doing a small regional show in Owensboro, Kentucky, which is really nice. And I think, once again, who knows? I'd have to look at my calendar. I think that's it. I got COVID. I'm not going to do any big shows this year because I got COVID last year at New York Comic Con. And I know it's bad for everyone. And I don't think I had it that bad, but I was like, I can't do that. I can't do that again anytime soon. So I would go back to the big shows next year. No one seemed to care last year at those shows. You know what I mean? Listen to Kyle with this Kyle Starks with this hot takes. Like there was no like sanitizer out, and there was no. I'm like, man, we're asking for it, and Kyle got it. So if If no one's going to look out for me, I have to look out for myself. But I like doing those shows. I like seeing the people. I'm hoping, every year I get a little bit bigger. And so, we hope each year more people want to see me, and I want to see them. I don't want them not to get a chance to see me. And what a good fun time we'll have chit-chatting and exchanging money for goods. That's my favorite part. And signing books to be flipped on eBay. We love it. We're here for it. So next year, hopefully we get back to it. Pre-pandemic, I did 36 shows. The year before the pandemic, I did 36 shows. And I've kind of done 24 plus for a long time. So I was kind of due to take a little break. So we just did the home shows this year. It's like Heroes Con in Memphis and Lexington,
and that's great because you also want to support those local cons as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every con has got new fans that are going to come in and hear about the stories that you're doing, and that's always just the connection there. Because New York can always get overwhelming too. I mean, we've gone down for years now, and it's an experience. If I know Lauren's going for the first time this year.
Yeah, I've never been.
It's
this year.
It's very challenging to prepare for it and to do. That's my only knock against it. I will say this: New York Comic Con is one of the few shows where you're on that Artist Alley floor and everyone likes comics. Everyone's stoked about comics. And even though it's a lot and it's sort of overwhelming, that's the best. I just did TriviaCon for the first time this year in Connecticut, and it was that, and it's the best. The show I did before Connecticut, TriviaCon, highly recommended. Heroes Con, TriviaCon are my favorite shows. Well, not my favorite, but I like them a lot because people are like, oh, we know comics. We can't talk about comics. The show I did before TriviaCon, the first person asked me how I got permission to print the comics. So you're like, it's going to be a long weekend, my guys. And indeed, it was a long weekend. So we like it when people like comics. NYCC is good. It's a lot, but it's very overwhelming. I just feel like we should have had a masking. I don't know. I don't know what I think they should have done. I'll do it next year. And, one of my friends was like, well, how much money was it worth getting sick for? And I was like, I didn't make that much. Like not this year. This year I didn't make that number. Whatever that number is where I'm allowed to be sick for 3 months, it didn't happen.
Oh.
I remember a lot of comic creators posting on Twitter. That
I know like 3 people who weren't sick. I know 3 people. And one of them, I roomed with Matt Kent, my good friend Matt Kent. We roomed together and he didn't get it. I got it. So I don't even know. Explain that. Maybe I got it from the airport. Maybe I didn't even get it from New York Comic Con. Right. Kyle, maybe you're talking trash about the wrong place. It's possible. But I didn't enjoy my experience, so I took a year off. I'll be back next year because I like the show. The fans are the best. When you go to those type of shows, it's the best feeling in comics. Like it's the best feeling outside of like, listen, number one is someone going, you did a good job and I liked it. You know what I mean? Like to me, that's the best thing. But number 2 is like when to see people and they tell you that, which is great. But then they're like, oh, we talk about what you like. You know what I mean? Like that's what comics has always been. When I worked at the shop, from 14 to whatever, it's like we're talking about what we liked in comics, just like we have here a couple of times. You go, this is what I like, and you get excited. You're like, oh, if you like this, you'll like this. If you like this, you like this. Like that's the best part of comics. That's the best part of comics. And then number 3 is like,
this guy in New York is literally the kid in the candy store. Like he has the biggest. Like we're working, but this dude is just all bright-eyed, smiles, doughy-eyed, and it's wonderful to watch.
We love it.
Well, you know what? But it's. For me as a fan, because I try taking myself like in this perspective, it's my way of getting to meet the creators. Like I've been basically living vicariously through reading everybody's work that I'm like, now I get a chance to meet and say thank you and support and get that, interaction. So like, yeah, I get, I don't want to say starstruck, but I'm like, I get like in my happy place because I'm sitting there talking with fans and even girls, even standing in line, we have some of the great.
Yeah, you get to chit chat about. You talk about who's lying here and their stuff, and you're like, did you see this? That's what I'm saying. Like, as a community, when we talk about things with the enthusiasm of why we got into them, I think that's what grows it. I think that's why I say like when everyone in my age who was 8 years old at some point was giving a comic in a grocery store to shut the hell up so mom could finish shopping, and whatever percentage of those kids, there's something that goes off. Comics isn't for everybody, but there's a certain person who reads it and goes, I like that. I like this thing. I like this. And we kind of got away from that, but also the way we talk about things. Like, if you see how manga kids interact, it's us when we were 18. Like, you're like, did you see, like, dude, Deathstroke? Do you remember when Deathstroke showed up and, like, the Judas, like, oh my God, like, he was so cool. Like, we were talking about that for months. We were talking about Deathstroke for months. Those are the comics, like, the great thing about the shows is that, one, I was going to say, is, like, that's a unique thing to the comic experience, right? Is, like, you can meet, and we're happy to talk because God knows. no one's talking to us at home, guys. We have to see you in public. My wife, I'm like, hey, you want to hear? She's like, I don't care. And I'm like, okay, I'll go back to my hole. The other thing is I was going to say is that Patton and Jordan are exactly that. They love comic creators. They think they're so cool, and it's so neat. I know that they saw Mike Mignola at the Eisners, and they were like losing their stuff, which, listen, we probably all would. But if they would mention, they're like, oh, I'd be like, oh, I was talking to so-and-so who's just like this guy I know. And they're like, oh, you know so-and-so. And I'm like, homie, you did what we do in shadows. Like, come on, man. Like, it's two different, this is like, it just shows two different worlds. But like, but I'm tangenting because the thing is, like, I think you can see, like, there's a lot of dudes. And I think this is maybe why people hesitated on Minor Threats, as I'm going a full loop, probably throwing off whatever plans you had, is that I think it's because, oh, it's Patton's celebrities making a comic. Dude, those guys love comic books. Like, those guys made a comic book because they love comics, and this Netflix deal was not the plan. Like, point at any celebrity written comic, and I'll say 9.9 out of 10 of them were written as proof of concept. Those guys did this because they wanted to make a comic book. And they have said repeatedly, the reason why they did the alternates is because they want to make a comic with Tim Seeley. The reason why they did Barfly is because they want to make a comic with Kyle Starks. Like, those guys love comics, and I think you can see that. Like, it is sincere.
It resonates. It resonates loudly.
I think so too. Yeah. Read Minor Threats, guys. It's really good.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't get a percentage to benefit from you reading it or not reading it. But if you like comics, you should read Minor Threats. It's really good. It's on Hulu.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of nods to the comic book world in the way that, like, The Boys, mocks the comic book world. It's the same kind of thing that you get in the Minor Threats world. So even if you think you'll have no clue, like, you'll still even have fun doing it. Like, oh, I see who they're mocking here. So it's a lot of
each one's standalone too. Like, you don't need to read Minor Threats to read the alternates. You don't need to read the alternates to read Barfly. And I think maybe there's something in the way people consume comics that they go, oh, I haven't read Minor Threats, I'm not going to read Barfly. It's like, well, no, they just just read it. You'll like it. You'll know what's going on. It's a little henchman. It's a little shitty henchman. That's all you need to know. You don't need to know who any of the characters are. When you see them, you will know who they are.
Yeah. Oh, it's
yeah, you really don't at all. I mean, it's more fun though, but you can also read them and go back, and you are not any more or less.
Yeah, technically, Barfly is a prequel, so you guys can read that right now. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, because you see that with the bartender.
You see with Frankie there before everything, it goes on there. So, I mean, it just works. But that's what I say. It's such a book that connects with everybody, and that's something like for me as a reader that have been reading this for way too many years now, I should say. I still find stuff I get excited about, and Minor Threats and the universe is built here is something that makes
awesome.
me want to go check this out. And that's like awesome. The biggest thing that when you can gravitate towards and go like, okay, this stands out and this is why, and then you can get in those conversations and talk with everybody online about this, or even at the shops. Like, that is it's just such a cool thing to even spread, and now it's to see it expanding out more, and you're seeing more creators still carry that vibe too. I mean, it's just an amazing thing for a fan to watch, but I can only imagine as a creator.
That's cool. That's nice. We like when people say nice things.
Oh yeah,
there's
a lot of nice things to say about your work too, because like I said,
that's very kind.
I could literally sit here and rant and rave about Pine and Merrimack, which I did check up. It's slated December is the trade.
Yeah, it's late. It's very good. Dude, frankly, I'll say for Pine and Merrimack and for Barfly, the artists and I've been blessed with artists. Even Kyle Hotz, look at that logo cover. I can't say enough. I've been blessed with artists. Fran Galan, he's so good. Fran Galan's gonna be a guy who's gonna break. I cannot believe there's a world where he does not break out in some way. He's so good. I could not be on that book, and it's worth getting. Ryan Brown is the same. Like, he's doing. I could not be on there. Like, I think I'm additive in a major way, but like the art is so unbelievably good. I think that's rare. That's two really good art books if you just like some comic draftsmanship, and two different styles too. Like, two completely different ways to sort of approach it. Both of those guys would work with repeatedly.
Yeah, and like I say, if anybody hasn't checked that out, like, seriously, go get Pine and Merrimack. I could literally talk for another hour about that book because I just think it's absolutely incredible, especially the ending, which I'm not spoiling. That's what I'm saying. You got to get to your comic shops and go pick this up.
Yes.
Along with Karate Prom, we haven't really talked about that quickly, but I know that is a book that Lauren has had the chance to talk with you about. Do you want to tell our audience about that a little bit?
Oh, you want to know what it's about?
Yep.
It's about a karate prom. Let's keep moving, folks. Sometimes it's in the name. It's a karate prom. It's all ages. I'd say it's all ages. PG's part. PG-13 maybe. There's no curse words or anything, but they do punch each other. It's about a karate prom. I don't know what to tell you. Do you like 80s movies? Do you like karate? There you go. Karate prom. It's right there. It's right there for you.
Bam.
It really is like Cobra Kai meets Scott Pilgrim Saves the World, and they do karate at prom.
I love
it's a good time, and like it's a great one. You
depending on their age, probably, because I think someone's like, "What age is it for?" It's like, I don't know. Do they know what prom is? Like, that's the age. They'll be like, "What is this?" Well, let me explain to you. Let me explain to you the societal custom that we have in high school. I love when people sum things up. I love Jordan Patton saying Barfly is a coming of age story, a henchman coming of age story. Someone said this is John Hughes' kung fu movie, and I'm like, I love it. That's the one I'm going with. So we love a tight summation. I think First Second was making some kind of Scott Pilgrim. I'll take that. I'll take that too. Sure, it's Scott Pilgrim for the '80s. I don't know. They're all folks. Listen, folks you'll enjoy. I promise. They're all fun.
Like I say, everybody should definitely go check out Kyle's work because he does fantastic stuff. Before we let you get out of here, one final push. Why should everybody go and check out Barfly if they haven't already been sold already?
What more can I? Honestly, I thought it was. If I would have known I had to wait till the end to sell it, I wouldn't have sold it so hard at the midpoint. Yeah. Here's what I'll re-summarize why I think sincerely. One, I think if you're familiar with my work, it's more work. I think if you're familiar with Ryan Brown's work, it's more of his work. If you're not familiar with either of those creators, I say as if I'm not speaking of myself. Like, I think you're remiss. That's two really unique voices in comics. There's not a lot of people who do humor well, and I think me and him are two of a handful. But outside of that, I think it's a very character-driven story, and I think we love those. I think if you love superhero stuff, if you love deconstructionist sort of meta superhero stories, which I think we all do, I think you'll really love the entire Minor Threats universe, including Barfly, which is a fun little romp about a poor little guy who just eats shit all the time and just keeps eating shit. Not literally. Well, he's a fly man. I can't speak to that. But we like to see people. We love an underdog story. Go read all of them. They're very good. They're very good. Read all comics. I don't think people are reading enough comics. Just go to the store and read some comics. Go on Hoopla. Guys, listen, I'm going to give a secret away. You can read comics for free on Hoopla. Go on Hoopla. It's legal. It's a library app. Read some books for free. And if you like it, guess what you do? Then you go get one because you want to be able to read it again when you're older, but you won't remember the name of it. You already forgot. You wish you had a physical copy. Listen, that's what the store is there for. Go read comics. They're the best. I'm doing okay. My comics are pretty good. But there's a bunch. And we just if you read other comics, then maybe you'll read my comic too. On Hoopla. They're on Hoopla. We love it. I don't know what Barfly is. You have to buy Barfly at stores. Lobo comes out next month. It's very good if you like Peacemaker. If you like Peacemaker, you'll like my Lobo. That's all. Am I stopping? Do I keep going?
No, that's
the question. Do we have to stop? There's more questions.
Yeah. No, I think we kind of summed everything up. I just want to say thank you for taking the time out to talk with us about this. We're all big fans of Minor Threats here, and obviously a lot of your work.
We love to see that. No, thanks for having me. We love talking. This is it. This is the only way, just like conventions. Conventions are nice to visit, but this is the only way that we can tell people about things. So always thanks for having me on. It's good to see Lauren again. She's had me on. So
yeah, definitely have to have you back on the
comics.
Yeah,
I'm always down for it. There's no promotion in comics. There's no promotion in comics. There's literally the stores talking about it and you guys talking about it. So I mean that's it. So and your audience is different from the next guy's audience. There's probably some crossover, but you get what I'm saying. So this is it. I'm glad to come on anytime and be what awful experience I was this time in the same way about a different project. So
no, absolutely.
The best. That's exactly right. Thank you, the Comic Slayer. Good name.
Yes.
Solid name. Probably a good human. I know them. I didn't answer any of the questions. Did they have any in there? Do I need to answer before you guys throw me out?
I was going to say, our guy in the chair, do we have anything that we missed? I think he threw it up. Oh, Barfly Netflix animated series. Is there animated? I don't think.
Let's ask the real question. Will I get paid if there is one? Here's what I found. If there's an opportunity for me to make money on a project, it won't ever happen. Who is the worst dad, Peacemaker or Shit Eater?
Going back to goods and services, as he said.
Oh, who is the worst dad, Peacemaker or Shit Eater?
All right.
Who has a worst dad?
I'll say this. The worst person, objectively, is Shit Eaters.
Okay.
Yes. Who would you least want to have as a father? I think Peacemakers. I think Peacemakers, because he was kind of saw himself as a father, is worse. He's worse. It's a good question.
All right.
I'm not going to. They're long gone. They're long gone. They're probably dust somewhere.
All right. And some Omar asked in the chat too, did you change your mind about NYCC? He already addressed it. He's not coming.
too scared. I'm going to do all the big ones next year. I did San Diego this year too. I was like, I wasn't going to do any big ones. I went to San Diego. Never again. No, don't say that. No, it's not my. I'd rather do New York. At least I make money in New York. That's my hot take on San Diego Comic-Con.
Goods and services.
Guys, thanks for having me on here. Thanks for talking about minor threats. We love that.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
that's great.
No,
I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely have to have you
of course.
back on, especially when you talk about the Kickstarter. We'll definitely have to have you on and talk about that
Cool.
beginning of the year. So let's already, we'll plan on that if not sooner.
Yeah, all right, that's great. We love to hear that too.
All right,
Help
definitely.
out the little guy. Help out the little guy make a little money. Look, you guys are heroes on your own. You guys are the real heroes here.
We're trying.
Oh, as it says, Ken is the hardest working man in
It's
college.
like Homelander. You guys are the
Something to
real
think
heroes.
on.
Yes. So that being said, wherever you're watching or hearing us talk about this, make sure when you're at the comic shops, go check out the Minor Threats universe. Definitely make sure you check out Barfly and the other stories Kyle does. He does fantastic work. We can sing his praises all night. But listen, just trust me when I say when you see his name on a book, you definitely want to go check it out and go pick up a copy and definitely hand it off to somebody. But we'll just end it like we always do on Turn a Page. On behalf of my team, when you're at the comic shops and you have a great issue in your hands, such as Barfly from Dark Horse Comics, and you see somebody struggling to find something, hand yours off to them. Tell them to turn a page. We'll see you next week.
I'm out.
It's such waste of time swiping left and swiping right on people you could know. 'Cause anyone who's worth a damn be worth way more than a picture could ever show. You could find the right light, find the right angle, and never find your soul. And it can feel like a losing battle, and this plot is full of holes. This modern way of finding love just makes me feel so alone. And I can't be the only one sick of staring at my phone. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Don't know that I believe in the old time fable. Everyone has just one true love. All I know is you're across this table, and you're all I'm thinking of. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Talk to me. Talk to me. It's such waste of time swiping left and swiping right on people you could know.